Good evening, everyone. This is Antoinette. I just want to share my Richardson family history with my family today. And so that's what I decided to do in celebration of Black History 365 days a year. I thought it would be appropriate to share the family history and to educate my family about our Richardson family history. Through conversations with family members, they often tell me that a lot of the older people in the family, they are, that has passed away. Some of them, they're up in age now, and things may be a little cloudy and fuzzy, and they don't remember. But in our discussion, it came up that we are the older people now. We are those older people in the family. So I put this PowerPoint presentation together for those in the family that may want to know the family history and to share it with the young people, because I hear a lot of people in our family talking about how they would like to pass this information on to the younger people in the family. So I thought this would be a great platform to use. Excuse me, let me get something to, give me 1 minute. I thought this would be a great platform to use to this Zoom session to share the family history. So my focus is not just the branches of the tree. I focus on all branches of the tree of the Richardson family history. Because it's important. It's just not the branches or the twigs. It is the entire tree. When we think about the roots of the tree, nurturing our roots, and the roots has a trunk of the tree, and then it branches off to the branches and the twigs. So this is what I want to do. I want to start off with our family tree and all the branches that is part of Thomas and Emma Vining Richardson's family history. So this is what I'll be talking about with the family tonight. If there's any questions that you may want to ask me, you can always call me on the phone to chat with me. And if you want to leave some questions in the comments, I will be happy to answer those questions for you. Our ancestors' footprints, yes, they left footprints. And this is what we're doing. We're going back and we're tracing those footprints and see exactly where to take us. It takes us into many different directions. And that's very important. It's very important to understand why is it important to go back. There's a proverb that say it is it's the past that shapes the present, and the present that shapes the future. If we really want to understand what's happening now, we must go back and understand and learn and understand the past. That means we will focus and build up on those good things, those things that's powerful, those things that empower us, and those things that is not good, we will do away with that so that we can move forward and move our generations forward. Just to give you a little information, and if anybody that is in the family would like to have access to the family tree that I have created online, please understand that I will happily share that with you. Give me a moment. Let me just change my glasses for this computer because it makes a difference for me. All right. Now, that's how it goes sometimes. Our family story from what I have researched, as far as I was able to go back, our family story took me to St. Helena and Tangipahoa, Louisiana, and the Tangipahoa, Louisiana Florida Parishes. So I was very fortunate that I really didn't have to go very far to do courthouse research. The record that you are looking at right here, I just want to point that out. It may be a little fuzzy to you, but let's see if I can do something a little different. There we go. All right. Oh, I got to go back because I can't miss anything. All right. Carrie and her son Thomas was appraised for $1,100 in 1853 on the Benjamin and Cecilia Bankston estate. And so they both appraised at $1,100. And that was the time that Carrie was sold to a man named William Kimball. We'll get into that. All right, here it is, the history of Carrie and her child and her son. On September 18, 1853, Carrie Richardson and her son Thomas was held in slavery on the Benjamin and Cecilia Bankston Richardson estate. Both Carrie and her son Thomas were sold to William Kemp in St. Helena at the time of their sale. Thomas was only 2 years old. I do want to point out that that name Richardson, now, as far as I know and have been able to research and validate, that Carrie was carrying that Richardson's name. So we still carry that enslaved name, Richardson, upon ourselves today. Now, when Carrie was sold to William Kemp, the question is, did she take on that name? Did she remain to be Carrie Richardson? But I do know that it's a little fuzzy because we don't know what name she took on. And if Carrie was between 20 and 23 at the time when she was sold in 1853, Carrie could have had other children, but we don't know what those children go by, so DNA is very important in trying to find the missing pieces to our puzzle. Thomas and Amanda Breland Richardson had 5 children, and let me name them: Annie Richardson Vining, Thomas Richardson, John Richardson, Goleen Richardson Edward, and Sophie Richardson. Annie married a man named Ben Vining. Yep, Ben, what they call him, Pete. Ben Pete Vining. And they had several children. And if anyone who lived in Tangipahoa Parish know Belinda Vining Trepanier, well, that's where she come through Annie. She come through that branch of Annie. Thomas Richardson is my branch that I come through. John's branch, they left and they migrated up to Philadelphia. So they're in that area. And I have had some contact with their branch of the family as well. Goleen and Sophie. Goleen was married. Sophie married a man by the last name of Ford, but those women did not have any children. In the photograph that you're looking at, that is Mandy. That's Amanda Breland Richardson. That's my great grandfather Thomas Richardson's mother. So I got this picture from my deceased cousin Luella Vining Franklin, who was a descendant of Annie Richardson Vining. Only one photograph of that generation, and that is Annie Richardson Vining, the daughter of Thomas and Amanda Breland Richardson. So if anyone else have any photographs out there, please don't hesitate, share it with us. We would love to find any photographs that we can get on Grandpa Thomas and Emma Vining Richardson William. If you have them, please share it. It would be ever so great. I mean, I would be grateful. And I know other family members would too, because they always ask me, have you found any photographs of grandmother Emma and grandfather Thomas? And no, I still haven't. The history of Thomas and Emma Vining Richardson. Emma's parents was Allen Vining Sr. and Rosa Hart Vining. Allen Vining Sr. was born in 1864 in St. Helena Parish, Louisiana. Allen and Rosa had 4 daughters before Rosa died. The daughters was Emma Vining Richardson William. And the reason that William is because she was married twice, or she was in a relationship with Williams. I have not been able to find any marriage records on the marriage of Emma and Jim. Emma was one of the daughters, Judy Vining Green, Bernice Vining Woodruff, and Mamie Vining. I just learned of Mamie. I saw her in the census living with their grandmother, because after Rosa died, they was living with their grandmother, Elizabeth, with their aunt and their grandmother. After Rosa died, Allen later married Phoebe Self. They was the parents of Alberta Vining Holden, Lena Vining Temple, Minnie Vining Jackson, and Allen V. Vining Jr. and Della Vining. And here's a picture of Allen Vining Sr. He is the only, we have other pictures of a Caleb, but we're not really sure if that's Caleb Sr. because the names kept repeating itself, just like Frank Vining. Allen Vining, I only found the name twice, but I was really happy to get this picture of Allen, and this is Emma's father. All right. Emma's father, Allen's parents was Frank Vining and Martha Green Vining. Frank Vining was born in 1830 in St. Helena Parish, Louisiana. Frank was held as a slave on Jesse and Martha Vining's estate. Frank's parents was born in Georgia. He and his wife, Martha Green Vining, was married in 1874 in St. Helena Parish. They was the parents of Allen. This is Allen's sisters and brothers now. His my grandfather, Allen Vining, great-grandfather, sorry. His sister, Judah Vining, Caleb Vining, Sarah, and Frank Vining Jr. He died in St. Helena and is buried in Mount Zion or Greater Refuge Temple Cemetery in Mount Peel, St. Helena, Louisiana. Now, Mount Zion and Greater Refuge Temple Cemetery is the same cemetery. I just think they renamed it, but it is the same, so to keep you from being confused. Also, please note that I was not able to find anything on Frank's parents in Georgia. I'm not saying that I would ever be able to find anything, because prior to 1870, we're very happy just to have this information. I'm taking some notes for myself as I talk. But Frank parents was in Georgia. I don't know if Frank was born here. Well, he said he was born here, but his parents was born in Georgia. But I don't know if we'll ever be able to go back and find anything on them, simply because there was slavery. They could have bought Frank's parents from somebody. So, it gets kind of cloudy in that area. I am happy to say that out of Rosa and Allen's children, we only have one picture, and that is of Bernice Vining Woodry, the daughter of Allen and Rosa Hart Vining. We have no photographs of Emma, Mamie, and who else I named? Emma. Okay, Mamie. We have Bernice. And there was another one. Okay, I can move on. I don't want to go back. This is the only photograph that we have. And I got this from her great-granddaughter not very long ago. It was last year that one of my cousins from the Brown descendants shared this photograph. Now, out of Allen's and Phoebe's Vining's offsprings, here's a picture of Minnie Vining Jackson. She's the one with the black and white dress on with the black purse on her arm. That's Minnie. Minnie lived in New Orleans. Lena Vining Temple, who's sitting in the chair with her granddaughter, Charlene Temple Jackson. This is Allen's children with Phoebe. And we called her Aunt Lena. She always lived in Amet, Louisiana, but her sister Minnie went to New Orleans. Here is a death record for Emma Vining Richardson William. And what I want to point out on this particular death record, who was the informant? Her son, Reverend Elliot Richardson. And he said that her father was named Allen Vining, and he was born in Greensburg, Louisiana. The mother was Rosa Hart. She was also born in Greensburg, Louisiana. And at the time when Emma passed away, she was living in Amet, Louisiana. Emma was born October the 1st, 1885 in Greensburg, Louisiana. She died on the 6th month, 1964. Now, I was 4 years old when she passed away, but I have no memories of ever meeting her, seeing her, or being in her company at 4 years old. I have no memories of that. And we're looking at, she was buried in Gordon Chapel Cemetery. I have not seen a headstone, and there's one family member, Lehman Ramey, who said that he can point out her grave, because her tombstone, because my deceased cousin Early Richardson Sr. told him where it was at. Now, this is Judy Vining Green's grandchildren, great-grandchildren. They are the children of Emma Baham, Emma Green Baham. Emma Green Baham was the daughter of Richard Green, and Richard Green was the son of Calvin and Judy Vining Green. So this is the great grandchildren. Now, I knew this connection because I went to school with Leonard and Terrell, and my mother always talked with their mother Emma, and my brother Michael was very, very close with Debbie. All right, here's a little history on Rosa's family. Rosa was born to George Hart and Cecilia Dudley Hart. George was born around 1834 and Cecilia Dudley Hart in 1853. Rosa had many brothers and sisters. So my mother talked about that we was related to the Harts, but she just did not know how. She said that an older relative told her that we was related to the Harts, but they didn't break down that lineage. They didn't say how we was related. Okay, this is some of Rosa's sisters and brothers. There was Emma Hart, who I guess that's where my Emma was named after her aunt, Emma Hart. Emma, George Hart Jr., Oscar Hart, Leonard Hart, David Hart, Margaret Hart, James W. Hart, John O. Hart, Charlie M. Hart, Della Hart, and Greenheart Rosa Hart. So I do want to point out that there's a lot of Harts in Amite, Louisiana. There's some Harts in St. Helena, and there is the Harts in East Feliciana, because East Feliciana is where I found them to have lived. So when I come in contact with people with that last name, because the family was so big and so large, I wonder if they are offspring of George Hart and Cecilia Dudley Hart. This is a beautiful marriage license of George and Cecilia Dudley Hart, and it was married in 1869. The handwriting is beautiful, it's fancy, but sometimes it can be a little hard on the eyes. So you need a magnifying glass sometime to read that, but this is their marriage license. The children of Thomas and Emma. Okay, Thomas and Emma, because like I said, Emma was married twice, in a relationship the second time with Jim Williams. The first set of children, Emma's first set of children with Thomas, she had 4 children: Rosabelle Richardson Moore, Josephine Richardson Harrell, Elma Mandy Richardson Gordon, and Thomas Elliott Richardson. This is my beautiful grandmother in this picture. I just love this picture. I really love this picture. Okay, there are 4 children. Here it is. That's a picture of my great uncle Ellick, my great aunt Aunt Mandy. We call her Aunt Mandy, Elma Mandy Richardson Gordon, but we call her Aunt Mandy. My grandmother, Josephine Richardson Harrell, and Aunt Rosa. Aunt Rosa and Aunt Mandy look a lot alike. I mean, beautiful women, just all around. All right, this is my grandfather, Jasper Harrell, and my grandmother. They was the parents of 10 children: Catherine, Jasper, Frank, Roosevelt, my mother, Isabel Harrell Cook, Leon Charles, Henry, Herbert, Raymond, and Dolores. So they had a very large family, very large family. I love this photograph because this photograph to me is a vintage photograph of my Aunt Catherine, who was married somewhere. I think her oldest child was born in 1948. So I would say this could be 47, somewhere in that area when she married Ernest Lewis Sr. But look at the women's dresses, and the men have their bow ties and their neckties on, and the shoes of the women, the dresses, and just beautiful. So this is one of the photographs that I really like. Like, sometime when we think about photographs and we're looking for pictures to hang on our wall, it would be good to get some of these photographs in print, put them on a canvas, and just hang them up inside your own home, so that when the children come over, you can say, "Hey, let me tell you about this photograph," and they quickly learn about their family history through photographs. Photographs tell stories. Yes, it does. I just want to name the few. of these photographs because I know if young people are looking, you want to make that connection. The picture with the two men, my Uncle Jasper and my Uncle Frank, they was brothers, but they was also friends. And what really that bond that they had was not only discussing, being preachers, both of them, and the love for being a servant of the Most High, the Heavenly Father, but there was a very beautiful bond between them as brothers. I remember taking this picture, the top picture in the right-hand corner, my mother with her brother and her sister at my Aunt Bertha's funeral. They was at the funeral of the last sibling of my grandfather, Jasper. His last sibling had passed away, and I remember taking this photograph. And my Uncle Herbert and his wife, Aunt Marianne Gordon Harrell. Okay, I don't need to go through this because I just named, but I do want to point out that my grandmother was born in 1913 in St. Helena, Louisiana. She was married to Jasper Harrell. Like I said, they had 10 children, and they did make Amite their home. They never left Amite, and they raised their children there. This is another beautiful photograph that I like. This is of my great aunt, and everybody that I'm talking about right now is on my maternal side of the family. Our family, Uncle Willie and Aunt Mandy. And I often wonder if he played the guitar. I know that you can't see it because some of the writings was cut off on this picture, but this picture was taken in Amite, Louisiana. And I just love the way they are dressed. And it looks like, they are outside. It looks like she had a tambourine in her hand, but the hat, she loved her hats. To the day she died, Aunt Mandy kept hats on. That was her signature, beautiful suits and just, love photographs. I would like to know more about Camp 44 and WOW. So if anybody know anything about that in the family, please share that information with me. All right. Elma Mandy Richardson Gordon was born in St. Helena Parish, Louisiana in 1909. She was married to Willie K. Gordon Sr. To their union, 7 children was born: Willie K. Gordon Jr., Frank Gordon, James Earl Gordon, Barbara Gordon Payne, Robert Gordon Sr., Adam Gordon, and Charles H. Gordon. And this is a picture of her beautiful daughter, cousin Bobby. We always called her Bobby. And I can see cousin Frank on the very end on the left, with that beautiful smile, another person that kept a beautiful smile on his face. I just love these old photographs. And here's a photograph of my great aunt, Aunt Mandy and Uncle Willie, renewing their vows for their 50th anniversary. On the top of the right-hand picture is his son, W.K. Gordon Jr., his beautiful wife, Priscilla Pope Gordon, and their daughter, Renee, at her wedding. At the bottom of that, there's my Aunt Mandy again with her beautiful pink hat. She just loved dressing. And I'm just looking at that beautiful shape that she had. Just beautiful people, just elegant. And this is some more pictures of their offsprings. Cletus in the car with his dad, cousin Adam and his wife Glennis at the bottom, and cousin C.H.'s daughter, cousin C.H. and cousin Wardine daughters. All right, Thomas Elliott Richardson. Now, on that note, we never called him Thomas. We always called him Elliott. So now I have counted 3 Thomas, and he had a son named Thomas. So that's 4, and there's another 5. It goes on and on and on. So I do know, starting with Thomas Sr., the son of Carrie, that's Thomas Sr., then his son, my second great grandfather, Thomas, that's the second one. Then here's the third, and then it goes on and on. And his beautiful wife, Aunt Melissa, and her name was Melissa Wheat Richardson. All right. Elliott Richardson was born in 1907 in St. Helena Parish, Louisiana. He was married to Melissa Wheat Richardson in Amite, Louisiana. They made Amite, Louisiana their home. They raised their family on Bennett Road. To this union, 10 children was born. Thomas Richardson, Walter Richardson, Pete Richardson, Nathaniel Richardson Sr., Samuel Richardson, and one daughter, Celestine Richardson Williams, Joseph Richardson, Emmett Noyd Richardson Sr., Earl Lee Richardson Sr., and Darnell Richardson. And here's a picture of the beautiful family. Starting from my left, cousin Pete, with the burgundy brown looking suit on. Standing next to him would be Joseph Richardson, Nathaniel on the other tree, and his brother Emmett. And on the end would be cousin Samuel Richardson. And sitting on the front row, starting from my left, is my beautiful great aunt, Aunt Melissa. We call her Aunt Melissa. Sometimes we call her Mama Melissa. We're just a beautiful woman, just really elegant, sophisticated, and a true example of a beautiful, virtuous woman. Sitting next to her youngest son, Darnell, and next to him in the light grayish looking suit would be Earl Lee Richardson Sr. and the only daughter, cousin Helestine. Cousin Helestine Richardson Williams always remind me of my grandmother, those high cheekbones and that she have, and just her demeanor. She just reminds me of my grandmother a lot. A lot of times I would often look at her and sometimes, just really kind of fight back the tear because looking at her reminds me of her aunt, my grandmother, Josephine Richardson Harrell. So those genes was very strong and still is strong. And it's just some more pictures of the Richardson family. That's that branch of the Richardson family under Aunt Melissa and Uncle Elliot Richardson. Okay, here's when he, everybody had the men definitely had to register for the military, and here it is. There it is. And he gave this information himself because I want to go to the very bottom of this document and you can see his signature, Thomas Elliot Richardson. But once again, we always call him Elliot. He never used that name Thomas that I know of, as we called him and referred to him as Elliot. So he was living at Route Box 16 East Amid, Louisiana in Ancestral Parish. At that time, they didn't have a phone. He was 32 years old. He lived in Greensburg, Louisiana, and he said that his birthday was October 25th, 1908. And he was in Louisiana. And the person who would know about his whereabouts at all times was his beautiful wife. And he put Miss Melissa Richardson, and the relationship, the wife. And she was living at the same address, Route 16 East Amid, Louisiana. And he was working at the Gillette Gin Company at that time in Tangipahoa. And there's his signature. Aunt Roosevelt, I love this picture. I remember when my cousin Lehman first shared this picture with me, just her beautiful hair. And that's what I remember about Aunt Rosa, because I actually remember her. And matter of fact, she lived on Ursuline and at 1505, if I'm not mistaken. And when I looked at my birth certificate, I realized that's where my mother was living, because that's what's on the birth certificate. We never call her Roosevelt, Aunt Roosevelt. We always called her Aunt Rosa. So this is another branch of the tree. Aunt Rosa was married twice. First to Eddie Jackson Sr. To this union, one son was born, Eddie Jackson Jr. Later, after the death of her husband, Eddie, she later married Alvin Moore. There was no children born to that union between Aunt Rosa and Alvin Moore. She was born in 1906 in St. Helena Parish, Louisiana, and she died in 1972 in New Orleans, Louisiana. And this is a photograph of her only son, Eddie Jackson Jr., and his beautiful wife, cousin Dolores Peter Jackson. I just love looking at these beautiful photographs of how, look at the women waistline, they had that waistline. They always kept that little purse on their arm, and baby, they believe in wearing gloves. Because I remember, my grandmother and them, they would just get dressed just to go shopping at the store. And those women kept hats on, and, it's just beautiful photographs. I'm so happy that family members share these photographs. And this is a beautiful picture of his family. He has lost two of his children, cousin Florine Jackson Ramey, and my cousin Gregory. And that's a picture of his daughters and his son who passed away. Matter of fact, a week before my mother passed in 2020. This is the family once again. The union of Emma Vine and Richardson Williams. Okay, Emma and Jim Williams, they had 4 children from that union: Ethel Williams Temple, Dorothy Williams, Jimmy Williams, and Arthur Bud Williams. Here's a picture of my great aunt, Ethel William Temple. All right, here's a little history about Ethel. Ethel was born in St. Helena in 1919 to Jim and Emma. She had 3 sons, 2 with Walter Temple, Cleveland Temple, and Jonell Temple, and her oldest son, Oliver Jackson Sr. Ethel died in New Orleans, Louisiana in 1958. And here's a picture of her 3 sons, a picture of Oliver Jackson, the larger picture, the man with the gray beard, that is Jonell, and the younger one at the black and white is Cleveland. And I want to explain these photographs because later on, some of the young people might want to, look back on this PowerPoint presentation, which will be on YouTube, and actually see their family members and see and be able to identify them and connect the branches to see, okay, I know we're related, but how are we related? All right, and this on my left, that is cousin Cheryl Temple. That was cousin Jonell's first wife. And to the right is cousin Ruth Landrew Jackson, cousin Oliver's first wife. And they both had children for their husbands. Dorothy Williams was born in St. Helena Parish, Louisiana. She died due to a fire in Louisiana. She only had 1 son, and we called him Freddie. Freddie Williams was his name. This is Jimmy Williams. I don't know of any children that he had. I've never heard anyone say that he had children. And I want to point out that, and then Arthur didn't have any children. I want to point out that the second set died before the first set of children. All of grandmother Emma's second set of children, the 4, passed away before the one she had with Thomas. I want to point out something else. Our family is a circle of strength, found on faith, joined in love, kept by God together forever. As long as there is family members living, that is our bond. That we are bonded by the DNA. We are bonded by the faith. We're bonded by love. And that's what we must always keep out in front of us. Anybody that know the oral history, that I know my mother would always talk about how they would get together for holidays, and grandmother Emma didn't have a large place during that time. So they would put these tables out and tablecloths, and all the Gordons, the Harrells, the Jacksons, the Richardsons would come together, and they would, they would break bread together. They would laugh together. They would, bond together. And that's how the family was. I mean, people visited each other on Sundays, and, it wasn't separation. And that's what they always talked about. That's what my mom talked about a lot. Don't forget to remember them. We must never forget them, because we are because they was. And they are the ones that came before us. They paved the way for us in many ways, and we must always remember them. And we must always pass this history and pass the legacy on to our children and to their children. And if we forget to talk about them, then they have nothing to remember, because there's so much that comes out of family history. It is so much. It is understanding if we owned property, if we was landowners, what is it? If we was inventors, whatever it was, we need to hold on to it and honor the legacy of the history keepers. First and most important to me is my mother, Isabel Harrell Cook. My mother, I don't care when I talk to her, I can call my mother 5 times a day. And this is every day. My mother would talk. She would find some way to go back into the past and talk about the family history. And yes, okay, let me be honest with you. Sometime I was like, okay, here we go again. Mama done told me this story over and over and over again. I got to listen to it again. And I'm so happy I did, because one day a light bulb went off in my head and said, you know what? You better record what your mother is telling you. Yes, she might tell it to you over and over and over again, but you need to listen, because she's trying to tell you something. And sure enough, my mother was giving me the keys to unlock the history of our family. My mother and my second cousin, Joanne Lewis Frazier, who we just lost. These two women was a wealth of information with family history. The legacy that Joanne left with being a part of preserving that rich collection of funeral home programs that has been now donated to the Center for Southeast Studies and the East Baton Rouge Parish Library genealogy departments. So I just want to say, you were all guardians of the history by sharing oral histories, photographs, and other materials. You have directly transmitted the memories of each aspect of family history and the history of the community from one generation to the next. Your legacy will live on for many generations to come. It cannot be written if it had not been told. The picture will not be visible if you didn't preserve it. Each of you gave us a roadmap to uncovering our history, and I honor them. And I feel that although my mother passed in 2020, yes, she's not here physically, but she's all around me. I cannot do this work without reflecting on my mother and thinking about all the oral history she shared with me, family photographs, funeral programs, and her knowledge of family on both her mother and her father's side. And so did Joanne. So I salute them. They are in the realm of the ancestors, but their spirit, their legacy still lives on to this day, to this very day. And this is why I am doing this Zoom recording for the family, so that I can give you the gift that was given to me, so that you can give it to your family and to your children. I would like to say thank you to all the family members that have supported me throughout the years with doing this research. I want to thank Antoinette Harrell for being one of my colleagues, my cousin, such a very sweet person. And as you can see, we're in the cemetery at Butler Cemetery in Amet, Louisiana. And she's looking at her phone because the producer was asking a question and she was reading it from the text and asking me the question that the producers wanted to know as we trace our family history. To my cousins, the owners of Richardson's Funeral Home in Amet, Louisiana, I would like to thank Earl Scott Richardson Jr. and Elliot Elliot Richardson III, and Dr. Valerie Richardson. And standing up by Elliot Richardson III, on my left-hand side is Joanne with the mask on. She's looking, she's engaged, and they are giving me a collection of funeral programs. And I am so happy that they decided that when they was cleaning out their files, that they was not going to throw those programs away. They wanted to do something. And so when they discussed it among the staff, they decided that they would contact Nurturing Our Roots and ask for my consultant to consult with me. Matter of fact, they wanted to donate it to me. And I thought that that collection should stand on its own at the Center for Southeast Louisiana. So not only to them, but I would like to thank Bobby Ginn and Eddie Brazil, who have passed on. So we're looking at this photograph and we have lost two people, two important players to preserving those programs have passed on. But the memory and the legacy that they have left will live on. A very special thank you to my brother, Michael Cook, Sr., because when my mother passed in 2020 and Michael was going through the trunk of her car, he came across bags of photographs and other information. He said, I know who I am going to bring this to. And he brought it to his oldest sister and I'm his big sister, okay, because I'm still his big sis. All right. And I thank you because you could have just did what some family members are doing. They're keeping their collection to themselves. They will not share a photograph. If you ask them for something, they'll tell you they do not have it. But, you know, when you think about sharing, you can't receive anything if your hands are like this. But if you open it up, share what you have, share the history of our ancestors. I share everything. I know sometimes I feel like, you know, okay, nobody's sharing anything, but there are some people that's sharing with me. Yes, Richardson's Funeral Home, Amite, Louisiana, Montera Harrell, she has shared photographs. Edwin Temple have shared a lot of information. And so and Joanne Lewis Frazier have shared, and Hirsch and Ryan Frisco have shared information. So thank you, Mike. I love you for that. Last but not least, pass it on to the young, to the youth. I remember one of the things I wanted to do was create a coloring activity book for the youth. And in that coloring activity book, there are questions that they would have to ask their family members to fill in so they can know. We must we must preserve our history. Please understand that it is the past that shapes the present and the present that shapes the future. We must never forget that. But in doing that, I want to share something else with you. Just give me a minute to pull it up because this is so important to show you just what we are doing with these funeral home programs. Let me just get this where you can see that. All right. Okay, here we go. 1 minute. This just came out on this week, and come on. And I want to thank Brandy Harris, B. Harris in Baton Rouge with WBRZ. Okay, guys, I'm trying to get this where you can. All right, that's the best I'm gonna do on that. All right, here we go.
Let Stanton's help you create a kitchen that is the heart of your home. Why Stanton's? Selection, savings, Jen Air, know-how, Whirlpool, big in-store.
Give it 1 minute to be there.
Service, KitchenAid, locally owned, Stanton's Appliance.
For decades and longer in Louisiana, everything, including funeral homes, were segregated. For Black people, those spaces hold stories that would remain unknown if it wasn't for the people documented in the records of funeral programs. In Tangible Hope Parish, there's an entire community established by just one man that's now being remembered thanks to those programs.
In the town of Amite, a family-owned funeral home has served the Black community for generations, storing decades of information in the process.
And one day I just sit down and start looking at them and I said, oh, look at the history. I didn't know about the Amite Colored School. The Black experience in the Florida parishes have been undocumented.
Dr. Antoinette Harrell is a local historian and cousin to the owners. She's done some of her work here, discovering a treasure trove of history, even connecting to well-known people like Collis Temple, the first Black basketball player at LSU.
I'm looking at Shirley Lee Cross obituary, Temple. She served George Washington Carver at Tuskegee University. Now, who would have known that if it was not for these funeral programs?
The first-hand information she found goes even beyond the 20th century to Choctaw Indians who lived in the Louisiana Florida Parishes.
Melinda Lawson, Mississippi Choctaw, full name Melinda Tom. So it gave her an Indian name, Tom, and she lists her father's name as Indian Tom, and he was a full-blooded Choctaw. Now, this document is so important to the Choctaw history right here in Amite, Louisiana.
With so much history, there's one story that's little known, but very important for much of the community in Amite.
Some of these communities sort of remind me of Rosewood, like the Vernon family history, Free Bob's family history. Free Bob was a former slave, and he purchased his freedom.
Born in 1832, not only did Robert Vernon, also known as Free Bob, purchase his freedom, but he also purchased nearly 3,000 acres of land.
I am the great-great-granddaughter of Free Bob.
On that land, he built a small Black community, complete with a church, cemetery, and school, collectively called Vernon Town. And that land is still in the Vernon family today, leaving more than 100 acres to each of his 17 children.
If he couldn't read and write, and he wanted us to know the values of life through education, we grabbed a hold of that, and we still holding on to it, and we're going to pass it down to each generation.
5 generations later, after Bob's death in 1915, the Vernon family is passing down his legacy through their work.
I was the first African-American in the city of Amite to be elected to the city council. I served 3 terms.
Although the story of Vernon Town is not new, there are many who have never heard of it, but Gordon says that's changing.
I think that door is just beginning to crack open. Okay. I think so far as the white population, they have known it in the past, but it takes the members of Free Bob family to bring it to existence, to bring it up to the surface, and that's what we're doing. And they can't deny it. Even
Dr. Harrell has been working with Southeastern University, and she's digitized decades of programs, and they are available for public viewing. For more information on Dr. Harrell's work, you can visit wbrz.com.
Okay, wonderful. I want to share something with the family. Once again, this is very important because we are documenting our history. If there's anything that anybody want to share with me in the family, please do it. Don't hold on to it. Please don't. Okay, I just want to show you something here. This is the blog that I created for this parish. So it's not just in this, I'm not just documenting our family history. I'm going throughout the Florida parishes because the Florida parishes, when you think about St. Helena was created in 1803. So we all come out of that little area, St. Helena, in 1803, then over to, and Tangipahoa Parish was created in 1869. So we're all connected to those Florida parishes, those 8 parishes that make up the Florida parishes: Livingston, St. Tammany, East Feliciana, West Feliciana, St. Helena, Tangipahoa, maybe leaving one out. But these are the parishes. And I want to just stroll down and show you, this is the type of information that I share on the blog. And as of today, over 400,000 people have read the blog. And I try to post photographs, and all the photographs that I post and write about is people in the Florida parishes. So I share this information. I share this information because it is vital. And when sharing this information, a lot of our history, the Richardson's family history, the Gordons, all the branches is part of this page. Now, something else that you can do to build a family study group of family history, and that's nothing wrong with that, because it's so much, especially if we own land, we own property. Look, how could you be a good steward of anything if you don't know who owned the property, where the property is? And that's why it's important that genealogy be understood, that it's not a hobby, it's a necessity. Now I'm going to give other people an opportunity to see what type of information that I share with the family. I try to share information that would be helpful, and sharing it with other family members so they can make copies of it for themselves and discuss it with their children. All right, here we go. All right, this is the page I created. There's 98 members in our family private group. And in that, and I share lots of information, photographs of family, announcements of different things that comes up. It's always on the page. But now if you look at this, I share funeral obituaries, newspaper clippings, whatever I find, I try to share it on the page because some of the young people have not seen any of this information. And so it's new for them. And so if they want to make the connection, like we can look at my Aunt Mandy, who she was married to, speaking about her husband and all of her children, some of the things that she was affiliated with. So that's why this page, it serves as a place to share information. Lots of photographs. And whenever there's somebody that does something great in the family, I share that too. You know, it's all about celebrating family. And that's what it is. I was sharing with the family the other day, I'm cleaning out my office files so that I can make sure I put it in a safe place for everyone to share it. So I want to thank you for joining me as I share this history, Black history, this month, Black history, next month, Black history, the following month, the following, so on, as long as we're living. So we celebrate our history by honoring our ancestors and keep in mind that it is on their shoulders we stand. It is on their shoulders that we owe them. It is for our children. It is to pass the legacies down to our children. It is to build to create new traditions and to talk about our family history, celebrate our family history, nurture our family history, preserve it and tell it everywhere you go. Everywhere you go, honor those ancestors. We are not just we don't let people define who we are. We are not just those that accomplish things in the entertainment field and sports. We are more than that. We are the ones that was buying land. We are the ones that when we came out of those shackles and was set free, we took off. They took off running to do things. They bought land. They did things to build the community. And that's what we should be talking about. All history begins with family history. All history begins with the local history, then move into the national history. So for this month, next month, the following month, I celebrate the family history, the Richardsons, the Gordons, the Harrells, the Jacksons, and Temples on my paternal side of the family. So if you really want to celebrate history, honor the ancestors, honor what they have done, build up on it, and share it with other people in the family. So I want to thank you all for joining me right here as I wanted to do a special segment on family history this month. And I say, well, it wasn't me saying it, was like the Heavenly Father said, look, you're the elder now. You hear the young people saying they all are passing away. So what are you going to do to leave that legacy? What are you going to do to educate them? What are you going to do to put information out there that can uplift the family? What are you going to do to strengthen the family? Take your position as an elder in the family. And that's what we all need to do, because we are living in a time where we see that families are separated more now than ever before. But we got to go back and reclaim the best, as St. Kofa say, the best that the past has to offer us. And what did it offer us? It offered us strong family values, unity in the family. There's strength in the family. So please, family members, do not focus just on the branch. Focus on the entire tree. Focus on the roots and let the tree tell you, okay, these branches, we are not an island unto ourselves. We can't become clangish, because when we become clangish, we only cling to that branch. No, open up the horizons, see the entire tree. Bring the branches together. I love the relationship that I have with Richardson's Funeral Home, Amen. Richardson's Funeral Home, Amen. Thomas Elliott Richardson and my grandmother was brothers and sisters. So we are the offsprings, and we're working together, collectively together. And that's how I want to see our family work together. work together. The next thing that we'll be putting together is a family directory, business directory, because we can look inside our family and we see it. It's already there. We just have to make sure that we nurture it. And if we put a business family book together and you're looking for someone, keep the money inside the family like other people do. And so I want to thank you all for joining me. Just thank you for listening to what I have to say about family. Yes, I am the elder now. My mother passed away 2 years ago, and she gave that torch to me. She gave that torch to me before she passed away almost 30 years ago. Okay. And I want to make sure that I make my mother proud, even in the spirit, when she would say, I am proud of you in the cause that she gave me. And I stand on that because I got to make whatever my mom passed to me, I got to pass it on. So I'm asking you family members out there, if you have photographs, I do not want them. I would like a copy of them. Please open up. Please open up and share. And thank you for listening. And if any family members would like to contact me, you know how to contact me if you have any questions. But I will be bringing to you some of the things that our families accomplished, what we're adding on to, and what we're building.